Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, everyone. We have a special guest here today, Tracy Noble, spokesperson for AAA in Greater Hartford, and we're going to talk about winter driving tips. So, Tracy, welcome to Car-Pinionated.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give to somebody who's out there braving the winter weather?
Use caution. So first and foremost, use caution. And the second thing would be to realize that speed limits are for ideal driving conditions. So if we are in the midst of rain, snow, sleet, you actually do need to slow down and increase that following distance.
And what would be a guideline for following distance?
Well, we used to hear, a car length for every 10 miles per hour. I don't know anybody that follows that rule. But certainly, you don't want to be able to see what is in the person in front of you. You don't want to see in their trunk. So
Yeah.
back yourself up. You need to realize that in slippery conditions, you need extra room to stop. Your stopping distance is not what it would be on dry roads. So back yourself up from that car in front of you. And by all means, please put the phone down and eliminate the distractions.
Right, right. Because it can be so distracting. I mean, just you think, oh, I just need to do this, and and you're like, all of a sudden you've traveled, 100 feet in a second, and you don't know where you are almost.
And we hear all the time people missing exits or not knowing, oh, I missed my turn. I did this. I did well. Then your concentration was not on the road, and that's exactly where we need your concentration to be, especially in winter weather conditions.
Sure, sure. And what do you find is the worst thing, the worst kind of weather to drive in? What do you think that is?
Well, sleet, freezing rain, black ice. A lot of times, people have what I would call four-wheel drive overconfidence, in that they could think, I've got four-wheel drive, I'm good to go in any weather condition. Well, unfortunately, four-wheel drive is great in snow. It does not matter on ice. So people with SUVs, especially if they are rear wheel drive vehicles, need to be very cognizant on very slippery roads because they are no better off than a sedan.
Sure. And I think I would imagine that there's a lot of people who just think, oh, I have four-wheel drive, but they may not realize that four-wheel drive isn't in place all the time, right? That there's anything that's actually all-wheel drive is driven primarily by one set of wheels, and then the traction goes when it's needed. So it's not like a cure-all for every driving situation.
It certainly is not. Um, and those with four-wheel drive, like I said, in the snow, it's great to have it, especially if you are in deeper snow. But you do have to engage that. So you need to make sure you're familiar with that practice, knowing whether or not you can engage the four-wheel drive on the fly, or if you have to actually go into neutral and take some extra steps. So you
Mhm.
need to be aware of what your vehicle does.
What kind of tires should people be using? I hear mixed, and a lot of people have all season tires, which I mean, it's what I use, and people don't have the space to put a new set of tires on every fall and take them off in the spring and store them. What do you think is the best way to go with that?
Well, that depends on exactly where you live and what you're comfortable with. So the majority of people do have all season tires. Now, I've got friends and family that live in other climates that do swap out their tires because of the heavy winters they have. So if that is your situation and a winter tire serves you better because those are your conditions for a prolonged period of time, then absolutely invest in the winter tires. But all season tires do work very well. Um, if you have occasional winter weather. So you just need to know what your vehicle is equipped with and make sure those tires have enough tread on them to get you through the winter. The last thing you want to be on is a bald tire. We know that is not going to work on any slick surface.
Right. And you know, replacing a set of tires is expensive, but not as expensive as repairing your car and paying a deductible, and the time you're missing, all that stuff adds up, certainly. If somebody does get into a crash, what's AAA's advice?
Well, we want to make sure that everybody is safe on the road. So you want to stay with your vehicle, and if the vehicle is still intact, that is actually the safest place for you. You can put your hazards on immediately. If you can, use emergency flares or reflective triangles to let others know that you are having an emergency, um, and then call for help, because you need to get help as soon as possible. And if you are experiencing something, please make sure you are to the far right of the road as you can be, preferably not on a curve. So if there's a straightaway, that's the best place. And one good thing in Connecticut is the slow down, move over law does apply to disabled vehicles. So
Okay.
oncoming motorists should be able to slow down and move over for a disabled vehicle as well.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people getting out of their cars, and I can't tell you how many stories I've written about people who were, standing by their car and then got hit. There's certainly responsibility to be had by all parties, but it just seems like, being inside the car is the best place to be, even if it's damaged, even if you're, until you have, at least until you have police, and that's not always a guaranteed cure all either. But when it comes to, like, your car's off the road, it's towed someplace, what do you have any advice as to how to manage that process?
Well, get as much information as you can. So if your car is towed someplace, know where your car is going. If it is a simple breakdown and not a crash, know where your vehicle is going to. So you can often decide where you want your vehicle to go to. So be aware of that, know their policies and procedures, and as reasonably as possible, then contact them and find out what the next steps are.
And if they're towed by AAA, does AAA bring it to a, is there a, uh, recommended AAA body shops or things?
AAA actually has 2 car care centers in Connecticut that we would be happy to service your vehicle at, but we also have an approved auto uh, repair network. So these are local repair shops that go through rigorous approval processes to get that AAA seal of approval. So, it's personal preference. So you want to use a trusted mechanic. You want to use somebody you've used before. And it's really important to establish that relationship, whether it be, through family, friends, through connections, or simply using a shop consistently so that they get to know you and your vehicle.
And hopefully it's not consistently because you have multiple crashes.
That's very true.
All right. Is there anything I missed?
Well, this is the time of year that we actually want people to take a minute and update that winter emergency kit. So when you're heading out, and especially before a road trip, make sure that that winter emergency kit is up to date. So it should include a flashlight with extra batteries, jumper cables, or a jump pack. And there's so little these days, you don't even have to worry about it taking up space. A basic toolkit, screwdrivers, pliers, an adjustable wrench, duct tape helps. Plastic zip ties go a long way. Throw in a rain poncho, a tarp, a blanket in case you get stuck,
Mhm.
gloves, warning devices, flares, first aid kit, non-perishable food items, and then especially for the winter, that ice scraper, a snow brush, um, traction aids, which could be even salt, kitty litter, non-clumping kitty litter will help you get traction, um, and a shovel. So now's the time to do that.
Yeah. I think my non-perishable food items in my car might be 10 years old. So maybe they'll need to be swapped out. Yeah. But all right.
Good idea for 2024.
Yeah. 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 Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. and hopefully we won't have a lot of bad winter weather to go through for this winter, but thank you. All right, this is another week of Car-Pinionated. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with more stuff on cars. Thank you. Good night.